That was weird. What are you doing right now?
The big V. Look, man.
All right, man. Let's just jump right into this shit.
So I made my wife wake up and drive me there anyway.
It's
a major.
What's that going so?
What's that going español? ¿Qué pasó, papá? ¿Cómo estás? Any questions?
Now, when you bought that
can't believe you hit on the sweater.
You just go, yeah, I'm struggling over here with my,
I'm going full Mr.
Rogers. Evan Williams right here.
You've tuned into the Man Chatter Podcast.
Yep.
Yo. Obviously, the setup and look is a little bit different. As you can see, there's darkness all around us. Had to do a pod from home, which I haven't done in, like 3 weeks. John, I'm struggling to open this Evan Williams, my brother. I'm not sure.
I'm glad you decided to do it on air.
Yeah,
because I wanted to see just how badly you were going to struggle.
This is like, I don't understand. Like, this is like child.
I think worse than what I struggled. When I was opening up the Maker's 46, I think you're struggling worse than me.
Yeah, it's like duct tape. This shit is like grip tape sealed. It's like almost childproof, which I guess says more about me than the fucking whiskey. All right, initial reaction.
Probably so.
John, do your thing with your top level internet and see what the reviews are, like the breakdown of the Evan Williams single barrel vintage.
Let me see what they have to
All right.
say.
I'm doing the John right here. I'm just...
You're taking in the notes?
Taking in the notes, man. Taking in the notes right here. Obviously, the start off was a little different. We always give a shout out prior to the intro. We got to give a shout out to Salt and Burn Pod, giving us a huge shout out on their pod. It's basically the best way to describe it. The way my wife told me to gave us the name for this podcast was, it's two men talking. So it's just two men chatting. It's not a podcast for men. So it's just two men that talk about things that interest us. That's the best way to describe it. So I appreciate you. Cheers to you. I don't know if I'm just smelling the fucking child-proof rubber because I can't smell much. What's it say? What's it say for the nose?
It says it's got the nose has got a sweet caramel and vanilla contrast.
Yep.
Graham cracker and seasoned oak. A touch of toasted marshmallow rounds things out. This traditional array of aromas may be light in its intensity, but offers above average refinement and is surprisingly satisfying nonetheless. Do you agree?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I was gonna say caramel, but I didn't want to sound pretentious because, like, when you know what I mean, like, that was the first smell. The first scent I got was the caramel for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I could taste the marshmallow. It has a little bit of the thickness of a marshmallow. It's it's
yeah. Let's see what the palate says.
It doesn't burn.
The palate says aged oak. No,
it doesn't burn. Like Maker's Mark had a little bit of a
bit more spice,
and a little bit of a hit to it, a little bit of a tinge. Yeah. If I'm using that word appropriately, but it wasn't.
Let me tell you how they describe the palate here.
Let me know.
They may be stretching, they may be reaching on this one, but you're going to be the one that tells me if I'm right or not. Aged oak is most noticeable, but finds itself in balance with other complementary flavors, including caramel, cinnamon toast crunch, and a hint of pepper. You get any cinnamon toast crunch in there?
There's no cinnamon toast crunch in here. I don't know where they're getting that from. It's good though.
I mean, it's good. They could have said cinnamon. They could have.
What is this? What's the proof on this? 86 proof.
Yeah.
This is a solid bourbon here, bro.
86 proof is pretty good for just about any bourbon cocktail.
As most if not all of the bourbons I've drank besides the first ones that we tried were the flavored Tennessee whiskeys, Tennessee honeys, and the American honey. These are all recommended by my boy Matty Bourbon, aka Matt Dana, that we're trying to get on this show. Constant scheduling conflicts, so on and so forth. But yeah, this is a good one. I put this one so far, right? Because I got to couch every recommendation that I have for the people who listen to the show and to any bourbonites out there. I don't even know if that's like the correct terminology for you.
Bourbonites.
Bourbonites.
Is that a cult? They're members of a cult, a bourbon cult.
I mean, it's kind of a little bit cultish. Bourbonites don't play. Hashtag bourbonites. Let's make that a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's in my top 5 so far. Like Eagle Rare to me is still my number 1. Which I just bought a 3rd bottle, but the second bottle is I'm selling it to my boy.
You told me that, and I was thinking, like, how are you gonna make the mortgage payment at the end of
Yeah, I know.
when the first of the month?
Look, I don't like to bring up my money, you know what I mean? Like, but I do pretty well, and I never compromise any bills to subject into my bourbon habit. That's never a thing that happens. Because it's a collection of this.
Still.
Is that the 1920 or is that the?
No, still the same bottle I bought like a month and a half ago.
Yeah, you gotta get
2 months ago.
You gotta let me know if you, because I haven't had straight up Old Forester. I've only had the 1920, so I'll have to. My next purchase in like 6-7 weeks, I'll have to add the Old Forester straight up.
It's a $20 bottle. 21, something like that. It's not
these bourbons that we're recommending that we talk about aren't very expensive. Besides that, like that $180 one that I was like, whatever. Not gonna do that again. I try to keep all my bourbons under 50. Like
Eagle Rare. You know what? I'm gonna reach out. I'm going to, bourbon's not just made in Kentucky, right? Or when we're talking about Jack, Tennessee whiskey, it's not just made in those other places. Obviously, that's like the birthplace. That's where most bourbon comes from.
Right.
But being in Ohio, I go every time I go, I don't even notice those other bourbons. And there's tons of them from Ohio, from Texas, from New York, from fucking Vermont, wherever. And I just kind of just pass them over, and I just go straight to all the Kentucky stuff. But I'm gonna give one of these other ones a try. I never see them come up on any lists. And probably because they haven't been around for 40, 50, 80, 100 years.
Right.
But it's worth trying something. A $25 bottle, a $30 bottle of something that maybe we haven't heard of, and we might be missing out only because it wasn't distilled in Kentucky.
You think we do that because like these are like the trusted establishment ones where like we're not giving the up and comers, you know what I mean? Because these distilleries or these smaller ones don't have the same history, that we don't give it that chance. Like a Buffalo Trace is you know what I mean? It's world known. It's worldwide. Like everybody, people know their Buffalo Trace. And Buffalo Trace has their different bourbons that they make within their own company. So
look at you talking like you know what you're talking about. People know that it's Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, bro.
You just found out Buffalo Trace like 4 months ago, man.
Yeah, I know, and that's why it made me feel like there's a whole world. There's a whole world out there that I don't know shit about.
But it's changing. It's changing because there's a shortage with in bourbon, right?
Yep.
Being that these bottles are hard to find, or they're priced at $200, $300, $400, $500 a bottle when they're really like $40, $60 bottles.
Yeah. The resale market.
So I think there's that the aftermarket is crazy. You'll see. I think what you're going to see, if it's not already happening, is what's happening with the craft beer, microbreweries, that whole movement.
Yep.
Where there are people that drink the big brands, but I got into drinking craft beer when I was in Washington. It's huge over there, and now it's huge everywhere in the country. And I think you'll see the same with bourbon. People are going to start trying these names that they've never heard of, these relatively new distilleries. I think that's going to start happening. They're going to start giving these other bourbons a chance.
There's actually. Sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
No, there's actually this local distillery in Sanford, not too far from me, that they do like everything. They do bourbons, they do craft beers, they do whiskey. We get that whole conversation. Like every bourbon is a whiskey, but not every whiskey is a bourbon. Right? Is that the same? Is that right? I said that right?
Sure. I'll go with it.
Go with it. Fuck it. Go with it. But and then they do like vodka, they do craft beers, they do all these different, they do all the spirits. Where like I'm like, you know what? You're right. Like you bring up a good point. Like, yeah, let's do the mom and pop one. Like let's see how they're doing it, and because like it takes a long time to do a bourbon, right? Like was the minimum age 3 years? So it's a process.
Right.
So it's, you can imagine like if you can't just open up a bourbon distillery like and try because you have to have that shit brewing for 3 years. So yeah, I'm gonna try some local stuff, and I want to try some international stuff. Like I want to try some Japanese whiskeys.
But yeah, so those are whiskeys, right? That's the difference. And
Yeah.
you said it right, where every bourbon is whiskey, but not every whiskey is a bourbon, because
Correct.
there's American whiskey, which is what we know as bourbon, and even Tennessee whiskey, and then there's Scottish, Irish, Japanese. They're made differently. I don't even know which one it is of the two that I don't like, but whether it's Scottish or Irish, I'm gonna have to go back. But one of those two I just can't drink. And I want to say I think it's Scottish, because
Scotch,
it's made
right?
mostly
Isn't
out
that-
of,
isn't that just
I think it's
Scotch?
barley.
Isn't that just Scotch? Or am I just fucking up
Right.
spirits? I can't do Scotch.
Scotch, which is Scottish whiskey,
Yeah, I can't
which
do
is,
Scotch.
and I think
cannot
that's the
do
one
Scotch.
that's made out of like barley, and it's like 3 times distilled. I think that's the one. Either way, it's like it's a crazy flavor that I just can't get behind, which is why it's so much. I think people that can't drink hard liquor or don't enjoy hard liquor, right? They drink mixed drinks and cocktails. Their introduction to whiskey is usually through bourbon, because it's sweeter, it goes down easier. It's sort of like when you introduce someone to wine,
Yes.
they're easier wine to start drinking as a Merlot, because it goes down easier, it's smoother before they start trying some of the drier stuff. It's the same concept. It's like if you're into craft beers, you wouldn't tell someone, hey, check out this IPA. If
Right.
you had an IPA before, you know it's a really distinct flavor, and that's not everyone's kind of cup of tea, you know. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there is
not
a
a Scotch
bunch
fan,
of.
though.
I'm not a Scotch fan. So Scotch is like Johnny, right? Johnny Walker's a Scotch, right? Like that's a Scotch. Yeah, no, I don't fuck with Scotch, bro. I can't. Like
I believe
my
so, yeah.
cousin, like Carlos, would drink it, and I'm like, and he'd be like, bro, I got this blue label. I was like, this tastes like shit. Like I don't like
Yeah.
any bit of this. Like I know it was like $100-some, but I was like, I don't like any second of this. So I was like, when you're introduced to that, like the Scottish whiskey, which is Scotch, like I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna like bourbon, but fuck it, I'll try it. But like the training wheels that we started with was the Tennessee honey and the American honey, where it's like
They came off real quick.
and those were gone. Yeah, we didn't fuck around. You go back to those podcasts, we would like a bottle would last maybe 2 to 3 episodes. Like
Yeah. That was dangerous.
Yeah,
It wasn't good for my blood sugar or my liver. You know what? I'm
absolutely.
glad we graduated to real bourbon.
Yeah, 100%. I think we did the Tennessee honeys and the American honey probably like for 2 months, and we're like, yo, let's try this. I think the first one I tried wasn't very good, which was like that not I didn't do the Old Forester. It was I can't even, who cares? It wasn't very good. I was like, fuck, I have to try another one. But yo, this one is this one's sneaky, bro. Like it's so smooth because it doesn't burn. It doesn't give you that like initial reaction. Where it can definitely you can see like 2 to 3 glasses being drank in the pod.
Well, I mean, because it's like 86 proof, so it goes on. It's easier. It goes on easier for sure.
It goes on a lot easier for sure. So yeah, man, what you been up to, bro? I know because we could talk. We could do a whole pod about bourbon, but we got
no. Every time we started, it could go off the rails, and we forget about the topics that we wanted to talk about. But I mean, look, Tony was here for a week, 9 days, something like that. We took him to the airport Saturday, so he's in Japan now, in Kadena. But yeah,
I have to hit up my brother, see if that's by him, so maybe they can link up.
I don't know. I think where's he at? Because he's in Okinawa. That's where Kadena Air Force Base is, which is like a smaller island off of Japan.
Right.
And then I'm guessing your brother's like on the bigger island, on mainland. Well, I wouldn't say mainland. I mean, Japan is Japan, but
yeah,
on
somewhere.
Yeah, so that's where I'm guessing he's at. But yeah, he's out in Okinawa, which is still, I think you can take a ferry and get over to the main island. So it's not that far off, but it's still a little island. I think that's like where Mr. Miyagi. I swear there's where Mr. Miyagi trained. If you go back and look at the Karate Kids movies, I think he was in Okinawa. So he's over there. I told him, hey, you go find Mr. Miyagi, go find where he was born. I need you to find that village. Let me know if it's been gentrified. Let me know if it's been filled with Gap and fucking whatever corporate stores. I don't even know why I said the Gap. Gap's going out of business.
It is going out of business. It is going 100%.
But yeah, so it was fun to have him here. We were, we played video games, we played volleyball, we went to watch the Demon Slayer movie.
Okay.
If you don't know what that is,
Anime.
it's the movie based off the anime.
Yep.
I saw the anime, all the episodes, and then we went to watch the movie on the second, third day here. So yeah, man, it was a good time. But now he's gone for 3 years, possibly 3.5.
Yep.
Because like once his 3 years are up over there, he'll be almost done with his 4-year contract. So I'm guessing they'll probably extend him and he can ETS out of there. And
Or stay
I
in.
told him to come if he decides to. His plan is to get out.
Already? He hasn't even had like real active duty experience.
Well, but I mean, like people go in with different. My plan was to stay in before having any active duty experience, and I was on that path until life threw a curveball at me around year 11 or 12.
Family comes.
But I mean, I told him, hey, look, fine, get out or stay in, finish your degree, do that.
Yes.
And if you decide to go into the same field as what your MOS, which is like propulsion technician, so working on jet engines, whatever.
Work out like Raytheon and shit like that.
Yeah, you get a degree in that field because he was studying computer science. So if you can continue your computer science degree or switch to engineer, whatever, like you have options. You're set. You'll be 26 years old and you can go work wherever the hell you want.
Yep. Military experience, degree.
Yeah, I mean hands-on experience because these are contractors that work on those planes. On those they have those contracts, so it would directly translate. And the DoD fights very hard to keep those contracts and keep that budget up, so it's not going anywhere. Like if he gets out, he's got career growth and career opportunities. That's not going anywhere. So yeah, man, it was good to have him here. I've been running a lot
with Javi.
Whoa, I heard some with Javi. But on my own as well. So sometimes I run with him. We'll do a warm up. We'll do some sprints, and then I'll go off and run 3-4 miles on my own, just because he's training for short distances, like for the sprints, and I was always a middle distance runner, so
cross country for
trying
sure.
to get back in shape.
So
that's good.
You've been the same shape our entire lives, bro. You've always been the person that's kept yourself up in pretty pristine shape. So I'll give you credit for that one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but running shape is not the same as like people are in shape but not football shape.
Yeah, running shape is different.
I did zero running. I mean, it gets into the single digits here or below zero. So during the fall and winter and early spring, I do zero running. My only cardio is I'll hit the heavy bag or I'll get on the rower a couple times a week. But my last couple of months, I did no cardio. I mean, I was lifting. I put on weight, and it was a good weight because I was putting on, like, I was doing deadlifts and benching and squats.
Right.
But then I went to run, and my breathing was okay because I had done cardio. I had maintained that. My legs felt like fucking concrete. Like I just couldn't go. My lower back, I was like, dude, but how the fuck is my lower back hurting? I'm doing deadlifts. I'm doing glute bridges. I'm doing all this crazy shit. I was like, how? Nah. Running shape is completely different, and it's taken me a month to feel like I can call myself a runner again.
Yeah, it's a different kind of beast, right? Like it's because it's crazy. Because you can do all the lower back exercises, all the core, all that shit, but like running is so much of a different beast. Like I would like
I'm gonna have to get a treadmill.
Yeah, you might have to. You might have to get that treadmill. Like they got that crazy one that has like the professionals use, that like it has like that dip to it. You know what I mean? Where like it gets more like the bend of your knee and shit like that, instead of like that straight impact.
I've seen it. It's like $5,000.
Yeah.
Let's not do that. I'm not. It's like buying a $4,000 mountain bike. Let's not do that. I'm not doing that. I'm trying to buy it on Facebook Marketplace. Okay. So let's not talk about this professional. I'm not trying out for the Olympics now. I just say that feeling of taking a month and a half to get back into running shape.
You know what you could do is just wait till 2022 when everybody's done with their home gyms and they're selling everything. Right, because that's gonna happen. Like, oh my god, like they're doing it
already.
Yeah,
they're doing it already. I was like, man, if Ben would have waited, he could have found himself a good mountain bike. Because I'm looking for mountain bikes for Javi.
Yeah,
and I see them everywhere, like used twice, used once. Everyone's like, oh, the pandemic, and they bought it early in the pandemic, and they still didn't do anything with those fucking bikes. They still didn't exercise.
At least I got 8 rides in, which I got to get back into. I might go hit dude. Like it's been so dry here that like you've been to my house, like all the grass in front of my house has like turned into sand, bro.
Shit.
Like it's been ridiculous. Like it's getting out of my house, going down the driveway. Like I'm literally like fucking fishtailing because I'm like driving in like 2 to 3 feet of sand. Like it has not rained here, John, in probably 2 months, 2 to 3 months. Like until we've gotten like a couple of showers, but nothing like rain. Like what we actually need, dude. It is dry as shit. So I was like, I tried to ride my bike. I was like, I can barely get my car past this shit. Like I can't even imagine going to like a trail where it's all sand. Like that'd be miserable. So it has to be like concrete riding. So I'm going to get back in it though. But yeah, man, I'm glad that Tony came home. You were able to spend some time with him and watch Demon Slayer. Shout out to Danny that's doing some stuff for anime. He never heard of Danny never heard of anime. Danny doesn't know anything past Escobar, Dragon Ball Z, Escobar, and anything sports. That's it. That's his whole world. And his kids and his wife, right? Like
Escobar, because he's Colombian.
Yeah, that's it.
Jesus,
it's not not racist because it's true. So also Colombians aren't as a nationality.
But hey, by the way, on this group chat that we're in with Danny, I can't tell if he's just being really dry.
Oh, he's dry as shit.
Being serious.
No,
or he's being dry with his sense of humor. That's why I was like, hey, hold on. Are you being serious with this right now? Or what? What's going on? I can't read you, dude. I don't know you that well to know whether you're just bullshitting or you honestly don't know what I'm talking about.
Here's the thing he honestly doesn't know. Like he doesn't like with a lot of things, right? Like a year ago, we didn't know that much about bourbon like we know now. The amount, you don't know what you're not exposed until you're exposed to it. There's tons of it that he doesn't know. Like it's just not things that enter his universe, which
But he strikes me as the type of guy that
he does.
Whether he knew or didn't know, the delivery would be the same.
100%.
I'm like, I can't get a read on this guy.
122%.
Like he's fucking with me right now, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'm just psyching myself out. I think he's fucking with me, and he's honestly just asking a question because he honestly doesn't know.
Here's the crazy thing, Jay. Like all of the above. Like all
I'm gonna cuss him out in his group chat. Like, stop fucking around, dude.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is, yo. Like it takes a long time to like wait. Like that, you really don't know about this shit? We need to have him back on because we gotta have that. We kind of put him on the spot on the last pod. Want to have him on to talk about because we were talking about like woke culture and shit like that and cancel culture and all that. And we had an interesting conversation. But next time we'll have him on and we'll talk about that. But yeah, there's tons of stuff he doesn't like know about. Like he doesn't, you know what I mean? Like he's still learning YouTube. Like he's still trying to figure that whole thing out. We're like, dude, like everything is there. Like I didn't know about players at Real Madrid like before James got there, like the history of it, like the true history. Then I go back and watch like highlights of like Raul when he was there, or Guti or Xabi Alonso. You know what I mean? And like watch all these other players. Like, yo, dude, it's like all right there. And like you can learn all the history and become even a deeper fan of them than you already were pre-James and pre-Ronaldo.
Yeah, I know. So you told me, right? That's what got you started as being a fan was James. Probably right after the World Cup thing.
Yeah, because of that goal.
Bought out.
Yeah, because of that goal. Like I'm gonna keep it 100. Like when he scored that goal at the top of the box, that fucking volley, I was like, I need to watch more of this guy. Like I love soccer. I've always loved soccer. You know what I mean? Even when growing up, like football. I remember watching this show when I lived in Panama called Estrella de Futbolito. Right? It was like
the small court soccer, right?
Yeah, small court soccer.
Fast-paced. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was like these little kids, and they all went to like the same school. They were like they were like around the same age I was, and they played like they had their like drama. There was like the Mighty Ducks below, but like on the pitch, right? It was kind of like that. Like they had the kid who like came from nothing and all this other shit. So like it's embedded in the core of who I am is football. But dude, like when you watch that, and I was like, I need to watch more who he is. Then I got into European soccer. Then Mo Salah, which is why I'm a Liverpool fan.
Right.
And you go back into the history of it. We'll go back into the history of Liverpool and all that shit. It's like all of it is right there. Like you can watch. It's not just like word of mouth of like, oh, these players were like this. Oh, I can see what Ruud van Nistelrooy was like, or fucking, you know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Like any fucking
that's right.
Guy that
Nistelrooy.
Yeah, you go back and watch what Thierry Henry was at Arsenal, or you know what I mean, or
Monster.
the Flying Dutchman when he was before he got sold to
The
Manchester
Flying
United.
Dutchman. We had a
Yeah.
conversation about this. You're like, who the
Yes.
fuck cares about the Flying Dutchman? I'm like, dude, don't
I know. I was
ever
very-
say those cuss words around me again.
That was very dismissive, and I apologize for those kind of terms. But you know what I mean? Like, it's YouTube is incredible with that. But yeah, man. For us over here, we bought another kayak. We tried to go kayaking on Memorial Day. John, before I go into like my like what I've been up to, do you like it when people say Happy Memorial Day? Because I find it really awkward and uncomfortable.
To tell you the truth, I don't give a shit, man.
Right.
I saw your
My tweet?
Was it your tweet? Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw your
yeah, 'cause
tweet.
I don't-
So you're
I
not,
don't-
you're not on Facebook anymore, and you don't really
No.
use Instagram. So I saw your tweet, and I was like, I hope this dude doesn't go into another fucking tirade and have like
No.
8 tweets.
I keep it very, very small.
It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me because we have
It's not in intention,
fake.
right?
No, it's not intention. You know, and some people just do it because that's like the culture now. To
Mhm.
like, we've been at war for so long. It's
Yeah.
people. I don't know if people realize that we're still at war. Like, you know, we're still at war.
Yep.
And
100%.
you know, it's like the whole, I don't know, fake patriotism. Maybe that's the correct term. Where people want to just be like, thanks for your service, thanks for this,
Things
thanks
like
for that.
indoctrinated patriotism.
Right. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is, right? So they don't know the difference, right? I know the difference. And I probably wouldn't have known the difference had I not been in the service.
Yes.
That's so I have to like kind of put myself in other people's shoes, and that's the frame of mind that the point of view that I look at it from. I'm like, you know what? If I wasn't in the service, I probably wouldn't have dug deeper into what does Veterans Day mean, what is Memorial Day,
Armed Forces Day.
what is the Armed Forces, or what are the differences and why, you know? So I don't give it too much thought. I don't get upset if someone says thanks for your service. I don't freak out. I'm like, oh, I was like, no, thank you. It was nothing, whatever. Like I just go on about my day, just thank them and then go on.
You're welcome. I always say you're welcome.
Yeah, I just say thank you. I just thank them right back. I'm like, oh, thank you.
Yeah, I just say you're welcome. I'm very much Maui for Moana with that shit.
I'm waiting for the day where they go, no, thank you. I go, no, thank you. I just want to go back and forth.
No. Thank you. And all of a sudden it becomes an argument and shit. Hey, no. Fucking
No.
thank you.
Thank you.
No.
There goes
You
my
just
whiskey.
fucking stare at them right and don't even blink and shit. Have it like a stare off. You gonna thank me again, bitch? Thank me again. You crazy psychopath. Look, that shit's gonna look creepy as fuck on the.
It is,
I'm
right?
I'm hoping that's a thumbnail for YouTube. That shit will be terrifying. Oh, these guys were arguing the whole pod.
That's what I'm gonna do. And you know what? I'm gonna have to find where in the podcast it was. I'll actually create the thumbnail, and we'll put some text on there. Thank you for your service. For Happy Memorial Day.
Yeah, thank me for my service. But yeah, man, we try to go kayaking on Monday on Memorial Day, and it was a fucking dud. So we try to go to this place, which are like the best springs in Florida, Silver Glen and Ocala National Forest. We go there, and we get there like they open at 8. We get there like at 9:15, maybe 9:30. 90 cars ahead of us, John. 90, sir. And the parking lot was already full. And
Jesus.
The guy, the parking attendant or whatever was like, look, there's 90 cars in front of you. Parking lot's full. If you want to see water, you're not going to see it till 4 or 5 o'clock. What? I was like, all right, so we're just going to turn around. We try to go to this other springs. Ends up being $60, right? That we're supposed to pay. We didn't pay that.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler alert, we didn't pay that because it was $10 a person plus the car, not counting the kayaks. And it was $17.50 to go kayaking. And it's a 4-hour kayak excursion. And it doesn't leave you back to where you started. So you're supposed to have a second car or a shuttle bring you back. Like, fuck the entirety of this conversation. I was like, no, we're turning around. Like, no, who the fuck are you? The lady goes, you can bring a second car. Who has a second car that's able to tow kayaks? Like you, so we're supposed to have 2 trucks, bitch? You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck?
I'm supposed to have 2 sets of fucking kayak carrier. What do I unclip my kayak carriers from my car, pack them in my kayak so that I can just
I
Set 'em up
fucking
on the other
fold up.
car,
I
waiting
fucking fold up
downstream?
my kayak. I Ranger roll my fucking kayak. Get the fuck out of here.
Jesus.
It was. I was like, no. And then we go to
Get
the.
yourself an inflatable kayak, and then you're good. They have
Yeah,
those.
they do have those, which I would never use because what
I
if you
don't trust
like?
that shit.
What if like you rub up against some rock and all of
But
a
I
sudden?
mean, look, the Navy SEALs have inflatable boats. Get
Yeah,
yourself
but
some
they're-
Kevlar inflatable kayaks.
Yeah,
You'll be
exactly.
good.
I'm pretty sure that the inflatable kayaks are not made out of Kevlar. And also, if you see them, they only use them when they inflate. It's not like they inflate them back up. They put them up on the beach in every movie I've ever seen, and then they leave them there. I've never seen them go back to those boats. Have you in any movie? Not once.
No, but I know someone who was he was on the boat teams that exfilled and infilled some of the exfilled the Navy SEAls.
I always see them puncture it in the movies. Like, they all right, gotta put this.
Yeah,
up.
they weren't. He wasn't driving inflatable boats, so
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a
Oh.
totally different thing. So not getting an inflatable kayak. So then we go to a third place, ends up being a lake. First of all, kayaking in a lake isn't the same thing. You're basically just doing a circle. And I had a terrible experience because I couldn't even get my ass into the kayak because I got a secondary seat and quote unquote non-slip tape, and I slipped right off that bitch. Fell in the water like 3 times. I was like, you know what? Fuck this shit. Not doing this at all. Not doing it. I was like, babe, I'm sorry. We're calling it a day here. And then I was out there like 3 hours of trying to find these different places to go to. And first of all, it's like an hour and a half there, and driving all the way back. I was like, fuck. So we're gonna try again tomorrow to go to the Silver Glen. Saw a video of it. It looks fucking amazing, bro. So we're gonna go check it out. Hopefully
it works out for you.
If not tomorrow, sometime this week for sure. Trying to go before the kids get out of school because then that's like peak season.
Oh, they're still not out of school over there?
Not next week, I think, up here.
Oh, okay.
June 8th, they're out of school.
Yeah.
So I got
his last day was this last Friday, so he's been out of school all week.
Wow, you said that.
Yeah. No, he's good. He's hey, look, it's crazy because on the weekends he'll wake up early as shit. And I'm like, dude, let me sleep till 9 o'clock because I'm tired.
Right.
And then, we get up, we'll make breakfast together or, make pancakes, eggs, whatever. But he's been sleeping in. I'm like, I've been letting him stay up a little bit later. This weekend, he stayed up really late. Tony was here that he wanted to stay up.
Yeah.
But like 2:30 was too late for him. I'm like, you're 12 years old. 2:30 is late. Don't try to wake up at 9 a.m. after staying up that late. Like, you stay your ass in bed and get your rest.
Yep.
You're already going to be short. You don't need to make it worse by not getting the rest you need.
You're not getting the adequate amount of rest for sure. That's funny. But yeah, man, it was a good weekend though. Like, well, it was an up and down weekend. My father-in-law had to put down one of their my father-in-law and mother-in-law had to put down one of their pets, which is never easy. Been there many times growing up. It's a painful experience. So, I mean, like, thoughts and prayers out to them because I know what that's like. That shit is a monster, bro. That shit you're never prepared for, especially like when it catches you by the blind side. Like when the pets are older, it's one thing. When you just find out, like, hey, guess what? All these things are wrong with your pet. It fucking hurts, bro. It hurts.
Yeah, man. I mean, Snowball's turning 15 this year. Those dogs are supposed to live like 12 to 14 years. So I mean, I see it. Some nights I just get up and walk around in circles.
Yeah.
I'm like, I saw it last year, and that's when I realized dementia might be setting in. I don't know, something's going on with him.
Yeah.
But he acts normal otherwise. Like that happens every now and then. And then like we were walking him yesterday, and he started kind of like hop, like just like sort of like you with your big ass head being top heavy, like he was just falling over to one side. I was like, whoa, what's going on, dude?
If you see it, that's why I always like roll my shoulders forward so I support my neck enough.
Yeah, so that stuff I hate it because he walks more gingerly and he's a little dog as it is, and I'm hoping that it just happens in his sleep. And if we have to put him down, we do, but because there's no point in trying to have surgery. Like, dogs aren't people where like they realize, oh, you got to stay in bed and recover. No, they're dogs. They're just
dogs. Yeah.
Try to keep doing whatever it is they're doing, and instead of him suffering whenever that point comes, we'll have to handle it then.
Dude, I'm a freak show. Like, I'm a freak show about my dog and our cats, or our dog and our cats. Like, dude, like it's been so hot here that like Drax's paws have like gotten calloused over and almost like to the point of like hurting where like he doesn't even let's touch the paws.
Damn.
So I legit like it's been so hot. Like dude, and it gets hot like at 9 o'clock. Right. So we can only like walk him in the grass. And like when he touches the sand, he literally almost like yelps and jumps off of it. So I'm gonna keep it a buck. I bought him some shoes.
I was about to tell you, get him some damn boots.
Yeah, I got him some boots. Melanie goes, "You're fucking ridiculous.
No.
Why are you gonna get him boots?" I was like, his paws need to be protected. Like we won't walk barefoot out there.
We need to do the same thing for our dogs in the winter when that concrete or the ice. Like I'm like, just put them on them so they can go out and use the bathroom. So yeah, you do what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, we bought him some. I think they're called like Kumis,
Mhm.
Kumy, and I like had to like measure his paws from front to back and side to side, and I bought them. And then I did like did all the tutorial like how you're supposed to do it. Where like one boot a day for 4 days, and then the fourth day you just let him walk around in it. And I walked him, and he was fine. Like the first time I ever tried to put it on, I did it stupid. Like I put all 4 on him, and he's just walking like I don't know what's going on. Like he's just like he's walking like he's never had legs before. So we did that. But yeah, it was dope, man. Like I walked him yesterday. We were able to walk him around noon, where usually he wouldn't be able to walk. But they do have a little bit of weight, so he was like more tired after his walk. And yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, man, it was a good time.
Yeah, don't let her shame you because you got him some boots. That's necessary.
Yeah, no, definitely. That was definitely necessary, especially like how hot it's been. But yeah, man, let's get into the main topic of today's pod. You know, it was a long catch up, is what we do, man.
Yeah.
It was a long catch up. But yeah, so look, we constantly, it feels like we talk the overarching theme of this show sometimes is like mental health, right? And the importance of it and the expression of it and being okay with it. Naomi Osaka, I'm in my book, right? Like take that with a grain of salt. I don't watch much tennis to begin with, but is the world's best tennis player, right? Like she beat the GOAT, kind of forced the GOAT to retire. So like, okay, I'm kind of done here if I can't beat Naomi. And Serena Williams, right? Like when you beat the best, to me, you are the best. Like all these other people are just like are the vultures and prying off what she got to accomplish that not many other women did. And she had to withdraw from the French Open due to mental health reasons. Now, John, you read the articles, and I read the articles you sent me, but I wanted your take on it as far as like what you thought about her being fined and what the media backlash has been, or like and so on and so forth. I want to take your quick thoughts on that.
Yeah, man. She I think she did this preemptively, where last week she said that she was going to skip the press conferences for her own well-being. And I think media members asked or tweeted at the person that the administration for the
FFT or FTF.
Yeah. And they said that she would be penalized. And of course, come to find out, it's going to be $15,000 for refusing to attend these post-match press conferences. And I think on Sunday, after her first round win, all these big tournament, the Grand Slam directors decided that that they were going to penalize her. Like they unanimously decided if she decides to skip these media days, they're going to penalize her.
Yep.
And so she preemptively, I don't know if she reached out to them in private, that hasn't been released. I haven't seen anything about that as far as, hey, I need to skip these days, or if she just went ahead and tweeted without letting them know, hey, I'm going to take this. I'm going to not attend these press conferences. So I was, I find that curious because I would like to know if she actually reached out to them and they said, no, you still got to go. And then that's when she decided to go public. Not that it matters, but it's just a different. I think it gives the story a different
legs,
different lens. Yeah.
But
at the end of the day, it's for her mental health. And she said she's been dealing with this since she beat Serena, since I think 2018.
Yep.
She won the U.S. Open.
She beat her idol, right? Like she beat the woman who she looked up to. Like that's got to be tough to deal with within itself.
She was like 19 at the time, right? She's 23.
She was
so she was 20 at the time.
Yeah. A child. Like, it's a child.
And Look, you and I think we're both on the same page on this. I try to. We have too many topics that we agree on, so I try to bring topics that we disagree with, so we can make it a little bit interesting instead of like two assholes just agreeing with each other. Like, yeah, okay, good. You're my yes man. I'm your yes man. We're good.
100%.
All right, I'm running for president. But
I'd vote for you.
you know how I feel about mental health.
Yeah.
And she's 23, and regardless of how good you are at whatever profession you choose, like people still have insecurities.
Yes.
And she
You're
won
still a human being, right?
Yeah, and she won as a 20-year-old, and she's been dealing with that for 3 years now, and she wants to skip media appearances. Like people are there to watch her play, and then we know
I've
press
never gone
conferences, right? I never
boring as
never
shit.
find anything in press conferences.
Wait, I want to call bullshit on that. You were on Rob Font's dick after his win against Cody Garbrandt. So
On who?
on Rob Font. He's like, oh, this guy could be Jesus. This how positive he's being. All right, so I just want to like.
The answers he was giving. He was being
Right.
complimentary of the person that he beat, and it wasn't a press conference. It was like the post-fight interview. All right,
Okay,
so
gotcha.
the post-fight interview. All right. And actually, UFC press conferences are probably the most interesting. If you're gonna watch the UFC press conference.
100%. Yeah.
Fights break out.
Go back and
people
watch
talk
that Dominic Cruz after he lost to Cody Garbrandt was one of the best post-fight press conferences, inspiring, almost like the Tim Tebow after he lost. Like those are press conferences that like stand out. There's been a handful of them that stand out, but for the most part, 99.7% of them are utter bullshit.
Yeah.
It's just, oh, they tried hard, we tried hard. She tried hard, I tried hard. He tried hard. You know what I mean? Like it's very much so coach speak, as they say.
Yeah, and obviously when you're talking about like tennis, they're not interviewing your coach. It's just the player, the athlete.
Right.
And the questions are, you lost to this person previously. How do you feel going to this match? Do you feel confident? Are you second guessing yourself? So someone who's already dealing with mental health issues or like anxiety, and then she's being asked those types of questions to introduce even more self-doubt, regardless of how good she is, regardless that she's won 3 or I think 4 Grand Slams now. She still has those self-doubts, which is why she said that she was always wearing headphones
to dull the anxiety,
so she doesn't have to deal with that. So it's a known thing. It's not like she's just putting it out of her ass to say, oh boy, I have mental health issues and I need my privacy. And so that's the type of questions that she gets asked. And I don't get anything out of press conferences. And if all the questions that are going to be asked for the majority are just questions like we just said, that are going to be kind of questions that are going to bring self-doubt into the athlete's mind, and they're not. What are you going to get out of a press conference? You just want to get a soundbite.
Like being like not even playing the media's advocate, because I think they do a job enough. Like, how does those questions help the fan understand that player or that team any better? You know what I mean? Like, oh, you lost to this person before. Yeah, but like, what is that? You know what I mean? Like, that has no bearing on what's about that. You know what I mean? Like, yes, I have that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not a question that helps me understand that player.
Ask them a question about strategy.
Yeah, like, are you gonna like? Yeah, exactly. These are reporters allegedly that know tennis, right? So like, do you think your backhand, you know what I mean? Like, or would be more sufficient than your whatever the fuck, like, over your overhand? Like, have you worked with somebody? You know what I mean? Like, have you worked with somebody who's a shit like that? But I've never gone out of my way ever. Like, I was actually talking with Danny earlier, like the press conferences we could think about in the history with like coaches or players are maybe 5. Marshawn Lynch, I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I was about to say she could just say that. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
She could just say, like, it was just weird, like, especially reading the article where they break down the questions that they ask for. Like, all these questions are just like meant to make you question yourself. Like, how does that improve the player? Like, oh, you've clearly lost to this person before. This person's beat you every single time. What are you gonna do now? Like, well, thanks, bitch. I hadn't, you know what I mean? I appreciate you bringing that up and then writing a story based off your own question and not my response. Right? Like, it's I don't know.
And I mean, she's dealt with it before, right? I think that same article that you're referring to, the one I sent you on Vice. The different types of questions that she gets asked. In one press conference, she said that she told I guess one of the handlers at the press conference, one of the organizers, that she felt like she was about to cry, and they escorted her out of the interview room. So it's again, it's not something new. It's look, I know she's gonna get pushback because you got guys like Piers Morgan, who
Scumbag.
I don't know what that dude's talent is. He's he talks shit.
Zero.
That's his talent.
Yeah, zero talent.
And he's mocking her and questioning her. So obviously, she stood out. She's been a loud voice for Black Lives Matter and the Black Lives Matter movement, and obviously wearing different masks with different names of
that terrible question that
people
she got
that have
asked.
been killed. And that was that in the same article?
Yes.
About
yes.
what mask are you gonna wear next? Or I can't wait for the next mask.
I can't. Yeah, when she was wearing the mask of a person who had been killed,
murdered,
right? Murdered.
Yeah. And I think Darren Rovell says, we can't wait for the next name of a murdered person you put on your mask. I mean, I don't think any person in the world had that thought, but apparently I don't think the person that asked her that or the, because it was an Australian player who was being interviewed who said, I trying to guess what the name is going to be on the mask every single day. I can't wait for the next mask. Those were her words.
Yeah.
I don't think that she meant. You don't know. You could say I don't think she meant anything by it, but maybe she meant something by it, and then she was just trying to mask it with like just a comment. But it's a weird comment. Like, I can't wait to see what name you're going to put on your mask next. Like,
it's a weird thing. Yeah, it's definitely a weird thing to say, but like in this case, playing like the devil's advocate for that is like, if that's not news that you get in Australia of like all the names of unarmed Black people who have been killed.
Yeah,
you're not thinking about it like, oh, like you're just thinking about like, oh, and you're just thinking like it's an honor. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
Australia
that's cool.
was also a place that banned guns, right? After there was a huge
after there was a shootout at a school like 30 years ago or 20-something years ago, they banned guns right away. Like, nah, you're not. This isn't happening again.
Yeah.
So it's not in the reality of what the world they live in is. They don't know about mass shootings. They don't know about unarmed killings because everybody's unarmed. You know what I mean? So it's not even like cops pull somebody over like, oh, they don't have a gun. All right, cool. But yeah, it's weird that you have like, we don't even want to make or share the comment that Piers Morgan said. That's a classist thing to say. He's a terrible fucking human being.
Look, I'm going to say it because
you're going to say
I'm looking at the tweet. And
okay.
Piers Morgan says, well, I don't know what comment, but he says Naomi Osaka is a petulant brat who can't handle criticism. But he's also the same guy who walked out of his own show
100%
because he was being criticized by one of his co-hosts about something that he said about Meghan Markle.
Yeah, because Meghan Markle curved him. It was like, nah, I don't like that kind of energy, and he's been a little bitch ever since. No, yeah,
exactly.
Like,
so he's gonna say she's a petulant brat who can't handle criticism, but he walks out of his own show because someone's giving a mild pushback. Not even something, just a mild pushback on his show. But obviously, I'm Piers Morgan. What are you doing?
How dare you? How dare you? Yeah. How fucking dare you? Yeah. I'm glad you did read it. Thank you for doing that. Because there's no talent there, right? Like, it's always weird how these people project so clearly, but then, you know what I mean? Like, it's so strange, bro. Like, it serves no purpose, only to themselves and to appease other people who are weak-minded in that way, right? Because you don't understand the strength of an athlete at the highest level to come out and say, like, look, I struggle with mental health issues too. That kills the stigma of like, oh, it's just people who have nothing. Like, no, man, mental health gets everybody. Like Robin
she
Williams
is at the top of her game.
Yeah, you got Robin Williams. You know what I mean? Like, to the darkest. You know what I mean? Like, you have fucking who's the
Chester from Linkin Park.
You have Chester, Chester Bedingfield. You know what I mean? Like, you have these things. Like, people at the top of their level, at the top of their game, struggle with it. So it's a lot more common than people make it out to be. We're like, oh, I got over it. Nah, man. Like, you struggle with it every day. You fight it every day. Like, look, I go to therapy twice a month. So I'm a huge advocate, and I wasn't thrilled because I don't want anybody to have mental health issues, right? Like, you don't wish those kind of things on anybody. But the fact that she did it, I was like, look, like, this shit, I don't like it because it feeds the darkest sides of me. Like, you constantly telling me what I'm bad at isn't what I want to hear.
Right.
And that might be unfair to you, but like, if your questions are just like, oh, look at all the times you failed. Like, how often would, like, if you had a friend, right? If you had a friend that only pointed out your failures, how long would that person be your friend?
I don't know. We've been friends for 25 years, man.
Now, I point out your shortcomings. You know what I mean? Like that's all.
Look, you're just masking it. That's just
Emphasis on the short. Yeah,
Yeah,
but it's not. You know what I
but
mean?
it's
Like
true. Exactly. If that's all someone does, like, there's only so much people can take.
Yeah. Or
Um,
if you have if you have those conversations with friends that like always want to one up your story, right? Like you're telling a story like something that happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're like, oh, well, okay, this is a person that I'm clearly not gonna have around in my life. You know what I mean? Like we're brothers and we give each other a hard time about everything. But it's like if you were telling me some shit that was really happening, I was like, yeah, but John, something worse happened to me. You know what I mean? Like that would be like, okay, well, you're clearly have no empathy and only care about yourself, you fucking
Right.
narcissist.
Yeah.
Like that's not how it works. So like if I'm telling you, hey John, like yeah, that was a cool web that you designed, but you probably could have done this better. I would have done it like this, I would have done it like that. Instead of like giving the credit, like, yo, man, that's dope. But what like the way you could approach it is differently. Oh, but what do you think about moving that font here or doing that? You know what I mean? Like you could approach it different where you're
Right.
where you're giving constructive criticism instead of just like, nah, man, that looks like shit. The last website you designed was better than this. Why don't you do it like that one? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
but obviously that's the whole point of those press conferences. They're trying to get a soundbite.
Right.
And then worst case scenario, like
to the
happened to
detriment
her
of the
before,
athlete.
she cries, she has to run out, and then they have a story to write about how she broke down and couldn't take it. So
She's
either
not
way,
mentally strong enough. Yada yada.
they get something to write.
Yeah. No, it's it's weird, dude. Like we're actually watching this documentary, this 5-part documentary on Netflix called Trial by Media, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. It came out last year.
Okay.
And it's just like how media dictates everything and how it has to like feed itself and the reality civilization. That's not even a word, but I'm rolling with it. Of everything, right? Like where everything has to be like a soundbite, everything has to be clickbait, everything has to be this to the detriment of athletes, right? Where like athletes are looked at as not human beings, not people with feelings, with families, with kids, wives, husbands, and all these things. Is like they're just looked at like, oh, you make money, you should be happy, you should be able to handle all this. Like no, they're still human. Like all these things are still true. Like they make money for a sport, fact, but they also have feelings. They also fought their entire lives, dedicated themselves since they were children. Like the girl who she beat the shit out of when she was 10 years old, and like had a clip like, oh, I'm disappointed in her. What the fuck?
Yeah,
Julie Adi Baba, right? Was that
El Baba? El Baba? I don't know how you pronounce her name. El Baba. It's in that Vice article, I believe.
Well,
and I
have on our YouTube,
Julia.
we'll put links to all these articles that we're citing. Shout out to APA citations are gonna happen on our next YouTube one. But
no, they're not.
No, probably not. I don't even remember how to do APA. But yeah, man, like it's this necessity for clickbait is something that really needs to be addressed, which it never will, right? It'll only get worse because the media machine only knows how to do more of what it's doing. Right? Like
and it got so much worse with the advent of the internet and social media and Twitter making. At first, it was like 140 characters.
Yep. Now it's 2 something.
Yeah, clickbait became huge, and now I mean, one of the articles we have is from Huffington Post, and they're one of the worst
clickbaity
violators of clickbait stuff. But I mean, that's if you don't do that, then your articles don't get read, and you know that's how these places get paid now. They have articles and then they have advertisement on these articles, and then the advertisement, if no one goes to your article, you don't get paid from people advertising on these advertisements. But that's what it is. It's about drawing eyeballs, not necessarily about good journalism. Like, look, this is off topic, but Glenn Greenwald is the guy who broke the story for
Edward Snowden.
The one guy who's known because it was him in partnership with a couple other people.
The most outspoken one.
He's a fucking like I don't know. He's gone completely right wing, conservative. He's going on Fox. He's going on Tucker Carlson. He's going on Laura Ingraham. He's going on everybody's shows.
He's gone full right. Yeah,
he's gone full right. But he's on track to make like $2 million because he left the Intercept, which he co-founded.
Yeah,
and all he says now is that their editors are all like they love Democrats. They're
Yeah,
liberals.
they're
They don't want
woke
to report real
liberals, yada yada.
news.
Yeah,
These are and two of those people that he's talking about are people that he co-founded the this media outlet with. But so he left. He went to Substack, which is it's almost like saying it's almost like Patreon, but for writers. It's like
Yes.
Medium.
Yep.
And he's got 20 to 40,000 followers, and you get paid anywhere from $5 a month to more, depending on what kind of subscription you have. So you do the math, minimum $5, 20,000 subscribers, that's 100 grand minimum.
Yep.
And that's if he only has 20,000, and they would do
And that's
do
a
the
month.
minimum subscription, and
that's a month. Yeah,
So he saw the money, and he left, and then he's going
that's where
on
the
these talk
money is.
shows.
That's where the money is.
Yeah. And I'm like, wow, that's who this guy is. So even this dude is just like he was outspoken before. He would rub people the wrong way, but now he's just like peddling conspiracy theories. I'm like, oh, so much for him being a real journalist.
Mhm.
I'm glad he broke the Edward Snowden thing, but
That's about
anyway,
it.
I went off track with that. But yeah,
No, but that goes back. Glenn Greenwald. You actually kind of tied it in, and I'll bow it up for you. Is Glenn Greenwald became like a clickbait.
Yeah,
Greenwald became a clickbait person where like, oh, the look at the left is canceling humanity or some what, you know what I mean, or some wild shit, and then it's like they're canceling your whiteness, or like just clickbait stuff that has nothing to do with anything, and like it really has no basis for it. There's no evidence, but because he has this one article or this one huge breaking news thing that he wrote years ago, you know what I mean, like that he latches onto, that his name's attached to, he's
Right.
looked it up upon this thing. But yeah, and it goes back to that whole thing, right, where like the media is itself entertainment, and then they have to like pry off the bones of celebrities, right, of people with names, because they themselves don't have a name, right? Like Glenn Greenwald has a name because of Edward Snowden. Like
right.
if there was no Snowden, there's no Greenwald. He probably writes a bunch of articles and stays on the left and doesn't make any money, and then sells his soul out later if a story comes off that, oh look, see, the left is wrong, and becomes that person.
I mean, Snowden was his big one, right? He was doing good journalism before Snowden during the Bush era,
Yep.
with all the crazy stuff that was going on, Guantanamo and everything
Yeah,
else.
Donald Rumsfeld shit. Yeah, he called out a lot of stuff, but the notoriety and the money wasn't there, right? Like that's where like he had to. If what he's doing was cool and accepted by mainstream, he wouldn't have to open up his own, found his own company in The Intercept, right? He would have been working at New York Times or something established, and like, oh, go ahead, Glenn, write whatever you want.
Well, that was one of the things that bothered him too. He wrote a piece on who's Joe Biden's son? I can't remember. Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
And his co-founders, who were also editors, wanted to edit his piece. And he said, that's the first time in 7 years since we founded this media outlet that you guys wanted to edit my work. And he obviously didn't like that. And his argument was, and maybe he's right, that they wanted to edit all the stuff that was that made Joe Biden look bad. And so, that was his beef with them, saying, well, you guys aren't
allegedly, right? Because we don't know.
Allegedly, right. You're not unbiased. You just, you're just Democratic. You're just cheerleaders for Democrats. And so what does he do? He just goes the opposite way and becomes a cheerleader for the conservatives and starts peddling conspiracy theories.
Like that's weird. Like you
become a real journalist, or you can't have it both ways. Are you a real journalist, or you're just a cheerleader for the other side?
Yeah, it's weird. Like how the left is doing this to me. So I've called out the right for 25 years or whatever the fuck. The left calls me out one time. Like, hey, look, none of these things. Can we get some sources for this? Nah, I'm just gonna write it.
They wanted more facts.
They wanted more facts, right? They wanted more sources. Like, nah, I'm just gonna write it. Like, no, you can't just fucking write. Oh, that opens us up to slander and libel. Like that's defaming a character, the son of the president. Like, take a little bit of understanding of that's what that is. Mm-hmm. And like he just wanted all that stuff. And it goes back to like the media asks these questions and writes these stories to make themselves a celebrity, make themselves the martyr. And that's what Glenn Greenwald did. And that's what I feel like the women, the people, I'm assuming it was women, the people who asked Naomi Osaka these kind of questions, like, oh, you've lost to this person, this is how you failed, this is how you done it. Oh, I'm gonna make you cry. Good. Let me write a story about how I made you cry. Where like anything and everything has to be a story. Look, I'm cool with interviews, right? Like one-on-one interviews that tells me about the player, the person, and all that shit. But after a match, after a game, Like I've watched hundreds of Real Madrid games. I've never once seen a press conference. I don't even know what Zinedine Zidane sounds like, bro. I don't know what Ramos sounds like. What Hazard.
I know what his headbutts sound like.
Yeah, that shit is crucial, boy. That is the best guy. He credited the shit out of that Italian player. But yeah, like I don't give a fuck about any of that stuff. Like I'm there for the entertainment of the game. Like
Yeah.
And I understand that these players get paid a ton of money and all that shit and yada yada yada. But like these weird questions, these prying, like those questions serve no purpose as to the match. Like, oh, like I know you had it. Like, here's a good question. Like, you had an injury in your last match for your wrist. How are you working on that? Like, is that improving? What serves? Or you know what I mean? Like, even that, like, oh well, I'm working on it. You're not going to say it because then that gives an advantage to your opponent. But those kind of questions make sense. You know, and maybe Marshawn Lynch was right this entire time. Was like, I'm just here so I don't get fined. That's it. Like,
look, and she could do that too. She could just go on there, grab her phone, be like, next, okay, and then they ask you whatever it is to ask you, and then you look up, and you just say, I don't know. Like, don't even listen to the question. I don't know. Is she gonna get fined? Like, she has to be there, and she has to give an answer.
Yeah, it doesn't mean it has to be anything.
They don't have to like her answer, but and she didn't do that. Instead, she said, hey, look, I'm dealing with stuff, and so I'm gonna skip them. And obviously, she said that she meant well, but obviously it took attention from the tournament and from other players, so she withdrew, which was she didn't have to, but because they made a fucking circus out of this.
Yes.
Look, this Julia, the person that you're talking about, Julia Elbaba, a sports journalist and former WTA player who got her ass
whooped.
When they were 10 to 12 years old, they played and she would get beat.
Yes.
She says she's not surprised, or she's disappointed by her withdrawal, but not surprised. She said if Osaka was struggling with her mental health, she shouldn't have played in the tournament at all, so that another tennis player could have competed. She's been struggling with mental health since 2018.
Yeah,
so she should just not enter any tournament.
Yeah, she should never play.
You don't deal with your mental health by avoiding everyone. And I think she said it herself. Tennis is a lonely sport. It's just you. You don't have a team. You have a coach who fucking like just
drills you.
They push you and they expect the most out of you. And it's just you. It's not you and your other teammates. It's just you. If any mistakes are made, it's just you. That you can't get the serve right. You're not fast enough. You're not strong enough. You're not listening to your coach's strategy.
You only have you. Yeah.
You only have you to blame.
Yeah.
And so for her to say that she shouldn't have joined the tournament because she took an opportunity away from another player, like
it's the second best player. It's the best player in the world.
Yeah, you don't just not show up.
Yeah.
You don't. And she's already an introvert by her own admission. Naomi Osaka. She's not going to then withdraw even more from the rest of the world. That's not going to help your state of mind, your well-being.
Yes. That's only going to make you a shut-in. Like that's just. It's stupid, right? Like it's
So for her to say something like that again, look, words matter. Words are important. Just like that comment by the Australian tennis player about I can't wait what mask or what name
or Pierce Morgan saying she's a petulant brat. Yeah,
exactly. Like the way you say things matters. If you mean something, make sure you say what it is you mean. She left herself open for interpretation. I don't think Naomi Osaka left herself open for interpretation. She said what she said and very clear about it to the point where she had to withdraw. I can't pronounce this dude's name because it's in French. Giles or Giles or
Gilet. I say Gilet. Yeah, let's go with Gilet.
We go with Gilet Morton. I don't know. Anyway, he said last Thursday that they would penalize Naomi Osaka.
But it was it was weird, right? Because it was weird that because the media was like, hey, you're gonna penalize her, right? What she did wasn't like the media egged that on. Like, who knows if the media doesn't pry and ask those questions,
right?
If we don't know, right? Because like you said at the beginning of this, like we don't know what the conversations were behind the scenes with like the management and the people and shit like that, like the association and all that. So she goes, look, I'm struggling with this. These are the issues that I'm having. But if you're getting asked by 40 fucking reporters, you're gonna penalize her. Well, the book says you gotta penalize her. Then like you penalize her $15,000, which for her might not be that much money. I don't know her bank account, but that's the $15,000 is $15,000, right? If that's what she's supposed to be penalized, but that's being egged on by the media, and then the thing is like it's a damned if you do, damned if you do moment, right? Because you could say like, look, I'm struggling with my mental health. Then when she comes back and tries to do these press conferences, that's all they're going to ask about.
Right.
Hey, are you okay now, or are you gonna have another break? Like, I can see the questions, right? Because I know what I know.
I would just say that's between my therapist and I. Next
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, like, and I'm here. I'm just here so I don't get fined.
I
I'm
mean,
just
look, and so what I find that it's ironic, and we were having this conversation before that same guy who him and then the other Grand Slam directors decided to fine her. Uh, they finally gave a lengthy statement. He gave a pre-written statement. He got up in front of the press.
a lawyer written statement. Yeah.
Yeah, after her announcement, after she announced that she was pulling herself out of the tournament, and conducted a press conference in which he read out a statement in French and English, calling Osaka's withdrawal unfortunate and wishing her the quickest possible recovery. Then he left without fielding any questions from the press.
Weird.
So at the very least, Naomi Osaka at least gave the press, he a heads up saying, "Hey, I'm not going to be there to answer questions." This dude who's addressing a pretty important moment
Yes.
in their tournament,
Mhm.
right? He's the head of the federation, the French Tennis Federation, has a prepared statement, right? His lawyers wrote it up because they don't want to get in trouble. And people are, of course, expecting to have
Ask
some
questions.
questions fielded. And all he does is he leaves without fielding any questions. I don't think the press was expecting that. So he did the exact same thing that Naomi Osaka is being penalized for.
Yeah.
The reason why, because he didn't want to deal with that. She has mental stress. He's not going to lose his job, but what mental stress does he have? Maybe he has some too. But instead of admitting it, he just walks out and doesn't say a damn thing.
Yeah. It's weird how that works, right?
Who's penalizing that dude?
It's always like
He's the head of the federation. I want some fucking answers because
Yeah.
this is a real issue.
Yeah.
A player being like asked questions that are gonna make her doubt herself. No, I can understand why she would skip those press conferences. And if you're just gonna ask some dumb question that gives me no insight,
It's
I also
weird,
don't see
right?
why you have to answer those. But if you just made a decision on penalizing someone and taking money out of their pocket,
Mhm.
and then you just walk away without answering questions, no, that's unacceptable.
Here's what
Come on
and I want to. You're right though. Like there is these moments when like I hate that I agree with you, and I just want to like continue what you were saying. Like it's weird that like how often we ask all these questions of the players, but one like the people who can make an actual change, which are the presidents of the federation, the owners of the team, so on and so forth,
Right.
they get to come out and just say their prepared statement that was edited. You have rough drafts and all these things, and then just get to walk out. Right, like where the players and all these other people personnel always have to answer tons of questions and so like here's a perfect example of what he could have done. Like, look, this is what I'm going to say in the first question. Like, look, the questions that are being asked are clearly unfair, have nothing to do with the game, and maybe we need to. And obviously, the media isn't going to say it, right? But you have to understand that the player is the content, right? Like I've never watched a single match for like a press conference after,
I've never watched a football game because I want to see one of the fucking Roonies.
Exactly. I don't, you know what I mean? Like I don't give a fuck about the team who owns the fucking I never want to see John Henry on Liverpool. I don't give a fuck about any of those people, right? I'm watching because of Mo Salah, Sadio Mane. If you go to Manchester United, maybe Marcus Rashford. You know what I mean? If I watch Barcelona because of Messi, should I watch his highlights? He's one of, you know what I mean? Like those, I don't give a fuck who the president is. Right. So the people who can actually make a change for them not to be questioned, but the players who are just like, yo, man, I'm just playing out here. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like it's weird why that never happens. Right, like when you have like example like a Kyrie Irving at the beginning of the basketball season, like, look, I don't want to do fucking press conferences. Stephen A. Smith comes like, you have to do these press conferences. He should be fired. He should be banned from basketball if he's not going to do all
that
these
mouthpiece.
Yeah, like Kyrie Irving is a person who himself struggles with mental health issues, who does a ton of things for his community, who donated a ton of money to the Dakota Access Pipeline. Did all these amazing things, right? Like those are things that are covered briefly, but it goes back to like, oh, but he's not doing press conferences, or oh, he's a little bit different, right? Where like it's said like those sentences are said back to back. It's not even a sentence, like a fucking comma. Where like, oh, he does give money, but hey, he's a problem because he speaks his mind. He said Boston is racist. Guess what? Boston is fucking racist.
Boston is racist.
Boston's
yes, they are.
Fucking Boston's.
As someone from Boston that don't admit that shit.
Yeah, Boston is racist as shit. Like, so like all these things are brought up. So it's always when it's brought up, it's like it's always looked at as like, oh, but you got money, yo. Like you shouldn't be complaining about anything. Like, yo, but the one who signs my checks is who I have the issue with.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like they never get to answer for anything because they're the owner. Like what is the French Tennis Federation's president doing to help the world's media ask better questions or understand that how to keep it about the sport and not about the mental health? You know what I mean? Like what is the Australian Open president? What is fucking Wimbledon's president? What are all these presidents doing to help? Because these are human beings, but they're just looked at as cattle and they don't matter.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just weird, bro. It's weird. Like it's so many levels and tiers to this shit. Like I feel like we go on about this for like another hour, and we'll probably have a separate conversation about a separate situation in a couple weeks that happened. You know what I mean? Because Kyrie's struggling. Oh, you know what I mean? Or Naomi Osaka is at Wimbledon now, and like she's getting attacked with all these questions by a barrage of questions that don't mean shit to the sport, that don't improve her in any way, just belittle her. It's weird, man. It's fucking weird, dude.
And again, it's ironic that you have these two guys, one in Piers Morgan saying what he said about her, calling her a petulant brat, but doing what he did when he received some mild pushback on his criticism of a woman of color.
Yeah.
Before Naomi
weird
Osaka.
how both of those are. That there's a commonality there, right?
Right, there is a commonality there. What
we're not gonna say it. We're not gonna say it. But hey, it's. By the way, I could totally drink like another one of these, but I'm gonna have to call
one of the questions. I think one of those questions asked of her was about. We didn't even cover the questions asked. Was about her identity. It's like, why is her last name Osaka when her father is Haitian? And I think she responded. She's mild.
Why does that matter?
We're recycling a joke from 2014. Everyone who was born in Osaka, their last name is Osaka. But like, why are they asking those questions?
What does that matter?
Still,
I don't know. I think look, we're gonna have a podcast here soon about the different questions that happen to people of color, right? The justification and the like the questions that we get, right? Like us both being Hispanic, we'll talk about it as ourselves, right? Where like, oh, you don't talk with an accent, or why do you spell your last name like that? You know what I mean? Or why do you know what I'm saying? Like, right? Like we could go deep on this.
Look, actually, I had some crazy. So Javi had an award ceremony on Friday, his last day of school,
right?
And I was looking at the kids and their last names.
Yeah,
and I told you I'm in a small city, Strongsville, suburb of Cleveland.
97.8 white.
You keep saying 97. Maybe I said that one time, but it's like 93% white. Might as well be 97.
Yeah.
Yo, the names. So there's a huge Eastern European community here. And when I say community is because they settled here in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And then in certain suburbs, Parma, which is adjacent to where I'm at in Strongsville. Where Parma's more the working class neighborhood, and then this one's a little bit like it's just like the next tier up,
right?
But it's still a huge Eastern European heritage and roots. And I was looking at those last names, and I'm like, look, it's the thing that we talked about. We're like, when Republicans or conservatives need more white voters, this next group becomes white. They weren't white before. There were ethnic groups from wherever, Eastern Europe, or from wherever you immigrated from. But now we need you, so you're white. And of course, they self-identify as white because they've now been accepted as part of the American culture and all that stuff.
Yeah, like when you were Italian American, you were Italian American, but now you're white. Yeah.
But so I was looking at those last names, and I'm like, man, like looking at those names, I would think I was either we got invaded by like this is still 1980 and the
USSR,
Cold War actually the Cold War actually broke out into a real fucking war and the Soviets won.
A lot of Red Dawn type shit.
And the Soviets won because those last names were like, how the fuck do you pronounce a C and a Z and an H and all these names? Like, where are the vowels at? How do you pronounce that?
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I was like, holy shit, right? I knew that there was a lot of Eastern Europeans here. I didn't know there was that many. It's like, oh fuck. It's like, I don't think we're in the US anymore. This is Middle America, and I don't see any Smiths. I don't see any Wilsons.
Yeah.
No, I don't see that shit.
No, it's weird. It's weird how that happens, right? Like that's a deeper conversation we'll have on another pod about the how I guess I want to make sure I say the homogenization of all those names where they just become one thing, or like they all just become white. Like you kind of lose, and it's that thing where like it's and my wife and I talk about it all the time, like because she has a degree in she has her bachelor's in sociology, so like where it becomes this, you get the benefit of saying who you are, right? Like oh, I'm white. No, you're not though, man. Like you're not like. That's just what you've been told you are because of just like you understand. Like
you're just like one generation before you. Like your grandparents came over on the boat, and your parents were born here or came here when they were really young, and you were born in the States.
Exactly. And then but you just happen to check off this thing because that's what you're told you are. Like that's white isn't a nationality; it's just a color. Like that's like we could we could do this shit for another hour, John. But we're gonna have this podcast on Sunday and talk about this on a deeper level because like. Colorism and all these things and being able to hide your whiteness and understand that it's different, you know what I mean, is a deeper conversation.
Why is it that we always go back to race? We're talking about mental health and we brought it back to maybe I brought it back because I talked about Naomi and Meghan Markle being women of color,
but it's that though, right? Like it's that unconscious. Yeah, it's that unconscious bias because it's a reality of life. Like I hate it when fucking people say, "Oh, I'm colorblind." Then how do you get to stoplights, bitch? You know what I mean? Like how do you pick your clothes out? Is it all great?
Don't be colorblind. Look at it, see it, see the difference, find the commonalities, understand it. That people have different struggles because they are not colorblind, and the people that put obstacles in front of them aren't colorblind either. So don't be colorblind. Don't say that dumb bullshit.
And this stigma that. First of all, like as a woman of color, as a person of color, for Naomi Osaka to come out with her mental health struggles, and you know what? I'll give Stephen A. Smith some credit because he talked about it too. Because he went to therapy after his mom passed on June 1st, 4 years ago. He talked about it today.
I dislike giving him credit, but go ahead.
Yeah, I dislike giving him credit as well. But for anything, but for this, I'll give him credit because like yo, like I needed help. Like, and that's hard for a lot of people to say. Like, look, us as men, right? Us as men of color, us as immigrants, all these things. Like mental health is one thing that's like doesn't get talked about enough for us. So like for Naomi Osaka, a person at the top of her level with all the notoriety in the world, now her name's everywhere for one reason or another, for one side or another of the argument. Like that takes courage and strength, right? Like it took me some time, and you know what I mean. And you're one of my best friends. You know what I mean? Like it took me some time to tell you the struggles that I have. And the things that I talk about, like imagine sending that shit to like the fucking media, like the world's media, like yo, I'm fucking hurting right now. Like these things cause me stress and anxiety. Like that's a lot of strength and power. So she's in my book, she's a champion forever. She's a champion of mental health, and I just hope, but they won't, that the media looks at themselves a little differently instead of just being fucking droids that they are, and just listen to their editors, understand that they probably have mental health issues as well. You know, and it's not that like mental health. When people say like mental health issues, people think like, oh, you're suicidal. Like that's, you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're in a deep dark place. Like, no, man. Like some days you just don't feel like getting the fuck out of bed and doing something. You know what I mean? Sometimes it anxiety and depression. Like I have anxiety when I have to go to a new place because like I don't know everything that's gonna happen there, and all these. You know what I mean? Like these are all mental health struggles and issues. Like it's not just a thing that like you're in this darkest place. Like, oh, this is weak. I don't know what the fuck's wrong with me. Right. You know what I mean? Like it's strength in recognizing that you have mental health issues. So, like I said, that's why I named this episode Osaka Champion. She's a champion in my book, man.
Yeah, no, I agree, man. I agree. I don't like agreeing with you.
I know.
That's the one thing we agree with. We agree on that we don't like agreeing with each other.
100%. That's the one thing we agree on forever. Yeah. My brother, I always appreciate you taking the time, man. Before we end this pod, I want to give the other Jonathan, Parrilla, some credit for finally doing his first podcast on our network. I guess we're gonna have to call this a network because I think I'm gonna try to talk Danny into doing a sports pod for like 15 to 20 minutes and growing this umbrella, man, because I think everybody should have a voice. You know what I mean? Not that everybody should listen to it, but everybody should have the ability to speak their mind and give their opinions on shit. I think that makes the world better and have the ability to have that debate and that conversation. But yeah, man. So shout out to Jonathan Parrilla. Is he? Look, I'm always gonna ask you: is he myth or legend? I'm gonna learn this one day. And I know
He's myth, man. I'm
Okay,
the
he's
legend.
myth. Okay, so
That's right.
Jonathan
I
Myth.
am legend.
I am.
All right.
All right, that's definitely not a zombie movie, Danny. All right, just want to, before we end this pod, and we're gonna, what is your top 4 zombie movies? I know everybody gives top.
You told me you were having this conversation with Danny.
Yeah,
right.
And he made me mad because he made me dumb. I thought
And,
I Am Legend was a zombie movie, and it's a fucking vampire movie.
Close enough.
Yeah, basically.
Close enough. Some shit goes wrong. They're fucking zombies. Okay, those fucking dogs aren't.
I can't watch that. I can't rewatch that movie, John, because Will Smith had to kill his dog. Spoiler alert.
I know.
My bad.
It
was
rough.
Cannot rewatch it, bro.
I have to watch Shaun of the Dead and Dawn of the Dead. I haven't seen them. I haven't seen Shaun or Dawn.
Shaun of the Dead, I believe, is on Hulu, where you can find it. You know what I mean, through your links.
I have Hulu now. I got the Disney Plus bundle.
Yes, sir.
Last week.
Yeah.
Yep.
And 28 Days Later is on there too, John.
That's at the top of the list for me.
That's my number one. Like that, and I have to watch it again. I haven't seen it in a long time, but to me, it's right up there with Train to Busan. I think Train to Busan, for a movie that I have to read the entire fucking time, because it's a Korean movie, is one of the best storytelling zombie movies I've ever seen. It just is. If you haven't seen Train to Busan, please go watch it.
Yeah, go watch
Please go watch it. But yeah, what's your top 4 before we end this?
I have Train to Busan. Busan is number 3.
What?
I have World War Z number 2.
No, with Brad Pitt, bro? How fucking dare? All right.
Did you forget about World War Z?
No, I didn't forget about it. It's just not. It's my. It's
how
my
did
number.
You?
It's my number 5.
How did you not have that there? You had that. You have Sean. Are these? Whose movies are these? The one that you sent me. Was this Danny's list or yours?
No, mine.
So you didn't even have it there. You had 28 Days
5.
Later. You had Train to Busan. Number 3 was Shaun of the Dead. Number 4 is I Am Legend. Also, 4 is out, and then Dawn of the Dead moves up to number 4, and World War Z is number 5.
Yes.
I haven't seen the Shaun or Dawn of the Dead, so
it's a comedy. It's a comedy zombie movie. Another
one of them is
Shaun of the Dead, not Dawn of the Dead.
I seen Shaun of the Dead. Yeah.
It's with Simon Pegg and that whole thing. Fucking hilarious. First of all, and Hot Fuzz, fucking hilarious. At World's End, fucking hilarious. But
at World's End, oh fuck yeah.
Dawn of the Dead, the original and the remake, are fucking phenomenal. Both of them are really good. But World War Z is my number 5. Army. The whole reason why I started that whole thing.
Oh no! Wait, I have seen Dawn of the Dead, and I think I've seen Shaun of the Dead. Whatever, that's a comedy. I'll tell you right now. 28 Days Later, World War Z,
Train to Busan.
Train to Busan is number 2. Fine. World War Z is number 3. No, fuck. It's in my top 5. Now I'm gonna have to watch Shaun of the Dead because I got 28 Days Later. I got Train to Busan. I have Dawn of the Dead at number 3 ahead of Shaun of the Dead, whatever.
Dude,
but I haven't seen it. And then I have World War Z as 4. So my number 5 would be whatever. I have to watch Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah,
I'd have to watch it.
Now, why I'd like Train to Busan, and I have to rewatch 28 Days Later, so that's up for debate. I have to watch it, right? Why I like
it's not up for debate. You shut your fucking mouth. 28 Days Later is at the top of the list, regardless of how great Train to Busan was good. I recall watching it 50 times last year because Javi just kept replaying that shit over and over.
And that's the reason why I watched it. I was like, if you watched it 50 times, I clearly got to watch it. But it's a great look. Train to Busan is just a really good movie that happens to be a zombie movie, right? Like it's a good, like, I know it's good because Melanie had nightmares. Melanie doesn't have nightmares about many shows or many movies. Now she's like, I couldn't fucking sleep for like 2 days. And it's not even like a jump scare movie. It's just a really because it looks so possible is what's scary, which is the same thing to 28 Days Later, right? We're like,
and for me, I was like putting myself in the shoes of those people on that train because I took those fucking trains.
Yes.
I used to go to Busan. I would take the regular train and I would take that bullet train they were on. I'm like, fuck.
Yeah.
I remember going through those stations.
Oh, that movie's so good. Look, the whole reason why that came up was because Army of the Dead was so trash. That Army of the Dead was terrible.
I heard that Zack
it's-
Snyder did a terrible
it's-
job.
Look, watch it for reference, John. I'll tell you like this: a little bit. First of all, it's too long. Watch it for reference, and then after you're done watching it, I'm gonna send you a pitch meeting thing that this guy on YouTube does. That is gonna make you laugh so much harder, and make you realize how much worse that movie actually is. Like I know I'm doing a terrible job of selling it, but
Okay.
you just have to watch it. Like you just like because this guy like it makes he like points out all the faults and the plot points. We're like, you're right. That
But
didn't
what's
make
the
any
plot? Like someone hires these people to go get like a stack of a cash of gold or money or something.
Yeah, it's
in
like
the middle of a zombie
$200,000.
apocalypse.
Yeah, $200,000. But dude, you just you have to watch
That's it. 200,000.
Not 200 million. 200 million.
Okay.
But like that wasn't even like the basis of the story. None of it makes sense, bro. When you really start to think about it, it's just ridiculous. It's not like it's semi-entertaining, but like halfway through, you're like, there's a female actress on that shit. That's like the daughter of Dave Bautista.
Listen, man.
That's terrible.
Yeah,
I wanted to
stop
her to
subjecting
die.
our listeners to this. I don't think they want to hear about.
Yeah, well, I could rant about this shit forever. All right, guys, we got nothing else for you. We literally talked about almost everything on this hour and a half pod. My brother, as always, I thank you. We'll do this shit again on Sunday, and we'll try to get back to our regular routine because I won't be at a hotel.
We'll try to keep it concise.
Yeah, we'll try to. Wow, look at you, concise. That's henceforth is what I for no reason at all. I just want to end it with that word. That's one word. Doesn't make any sense. Henceforth. All right, guys, we out. Peace. John, you got anything?
I'm out.
I'm out. Peace.
Peace.